Excuse the sock. This is for the white balance. I'm just going to keep it on for the remainder of the review. This sweaty, dirty sock. I've come here to share with you my thoughts, as Joe Rogan would say, on the new South Park double feature, post-COVID and the return of COVID. I think those are the two episodes. As it is with most things that I review, I am ridiculously late with this, so apologies for that. But I just wanted to talk about it to share my thoughts.
It's a new variant, the COVID Delta Plus rewards program variant.
So seeing as though the whole world is currently living through a very culturally significant time regarding the pandemic that's been going on for almost 2 years now, it's not only going to affect people and culture, but it's also going to affect art and media. 9/11 affected how we made films, Vietnam affected how we made films, World War I and II and etc. Kennedy's assassination, all of these things created new waves of cinema. There's going to be a lot of post-COVID art about COVID, and I know this is cynical to say, but I think that 80% of it is going to be manipulative, trite garbage that's just capitalising off the relevance of COVID. But there's also going to be, hopefully, some great art that comes from all of this. Now, I just want to say that I haven't seen the Bo Burnham's Inside documentary on Netflix, and I know that covers this topic, covers the lockdown and being isolated, and apparently it covers that very well in a sensitive manner, but I haven't seen it. As of right now, the episodes that South Park have done about COVID are really the only COVID related media I've seen, and I, for the most part, have really enjoyed what South Park have been doing with it. It makes sense that they'd cover this topic because they always cover the most relevant issues. Obviously I haven't seen Bo Burnham's documentary again, but maybe by default it's the best piece of media about COVID so far. It is very preachy, but if you're familiar with South Park, you should be used to that. Most of South Park, it's very clear what they're saying, what statement they're making about a particular social political issue.
But if you tell us who the unvaccinated person is, we can have them vaccinated and then this will all be over. We can't tell you who it is because in case you forgot, it's the future and we don't single out or ridicule anyone for their personal beliefs. I hate the future.
It's because the things that South Park has to say are actually interesting, and also they're just funnily communicated through comedy. That's what makes South Park great to this day. It's just funny, no matter what it's talking about. Because that's what I've recently found with satire, is that you can be as satirical as you want, you can have all these things to say, but if you're not funny, you're just not funny. And South Park always manages to mostly be funny. I have so much respect for Matt Stone and Trey Parker as storytellers and comedians. They are the authentic version of what Ricky Gervais always pretends to be. Truly countercultural and wise and insightful, and even at times profound. Another thing that just applies to South Park in general, the way Matt and Trey write for these child characters is on another level of accuracy. It's like they're perpetually clued in to their childhood personas. They haven't lost that childhood spark. Because a lot of the show is just about taking the piss out of all the weird shit like 10-year-olds or 11-year-olds get up to. It's obviously extremely absurd at times, but it is a good showcase of the life of a child. Like the vulgar language, obviously, that's so accurate.
Mr. Mackey, can I ask a question?
Okay, what?
What's the big fucking deal, bitch? Yeah.
Now I want to know where you heard these horrific obscenities, okay?
Nowhere. We heard them from Mr. Garrison a few times before. Yeah.
Boys, I seriously doubt that Mr. Garrison ever said, eat penguin shit, you ass spelunker.
But it's also in the other little things, like all of the stupid ideas and theories they come up with.
I started puberty, you guys. What? No, you didn't. Yes, I really did. How do you know? Well, because yesterday I got my period. You got your what? My period, you guys. You see, there comes a time in every child's life when they grow up and nature starts to take its course by having you bleed out your ass for a few days every month.
And these little adventures they go on, that to them is this huge world-shattering event, but really is just this stupid, simplistic childhood thing. I've noticed that in the more recent seasons of South Park, and this might just be because I'm older, that now there seems to be a sense of sentimentality for the characters from the showrunners, which again might have always been there, because I might only just be noticing it because I've grown up a little bit and I don't just see like funny, he said fuck. It's because the characters of South Park are, for the majority of of the time played for laughs. You have The Simpsons where there's a balance of cynical satire and humour, then there's the more emotional family drama side to it. But South Park has always been way more just everything just gets the piss taken out of it. It's all a big fucking joke. There's barely any morals to anything. Every character's a joke. But I'd say that there are moments, like just at the right time, they take themselves seriously and deliver a fairly profound message, you might say. You know, just a little bit of weight, not too much that it gets pretentious, just a tiny little bit just to make it whoa. Bit of juice to that story, bit of sadness there, or whatever. And because of the tone that the show embodies the majority of the rest of the time, these moments do come up as nice surprises. And during the post-COVID episodes, there's this montage of Stan as a kid experiencing the first wave of lockdown, which I'd say isn't really played for laughs. Like, that was just depressing.
Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, dear Stan!
And I guess the context of it being in South Park kind of makes it even a bigger surprise. Again, Matt and Trey are taking Stan and the other characters seriously, and trying to tell a story on behalf of all of the kids who experienced the first lockdown. And I was waiting for the joke, but it didn't really come. I think it was inherently a bit darkly comedic, but for the most part it's just the reality of the situation. Now one could argue that it's broad and manipulative, because it shows all of the instantly recognisable imagery of the first lockdown. But I think it earns it because of the way that Stan's character has already been set up in this COVID episode, or this COVID event series. And maybe it feels more authentic because we know how jaded and cynical the writers of South Park are, that they wouldn't try and pull one over us like this. I don't know, sometimes you can be fairly obvious and preachy, but still be authentic and a little bit profound. And I think South Park have always managed to do that. And again, speaking mostly subjectively here, because I can't quite put my finger on why, it doesn't feel rushed and out of nowhere. That montage felt like a natural progression of the story, because it came at the start of the second part of this two-parter series, this post-COVID series, where each part's an hour long. And maybe it's because there's a little bit of comedy in there that makes it feel less pandering and trite and manipulative again. Like when they say, oh, we're going to go and see Grandpa, and they're just like waving at him from outside the house on the other side of the road.
Hi, Grandpa!
Hi, Grandpa.
Isn't it great to see Grandpa, kids?
Kind of funny the way they set that up, but also like, fuck, like, it's miserable. That was like one of the highlights of the whole fucking two-parter. So if you don't know already, the thing that makes this two-parter interesting is that all of the child characters from the show are all grown up. And they do a really good job with showing where all of the different kids have ended up. So first of all, there's Stan, who's the centerpiece of the two episodes, the main heart of the story. His character in this, even if this wasn't a comedy, I'd still find interesting, because he's this miserable, depressed burnout who doesn't have a wife. He has a virtual wife in the form of the future version of Alexa.
Alexa, turn on the TV.
Oh God, you're such a piece of shit.
And how he constantly argues with it. And the thing is, that Alexa gag not only shows something about Stan's character, and like how he's basically would be a shit husband if he had a real wife, and is basically in a shit relationship, he's pretty much an alcoholic, but it also has that cynical evolution of the Amazon products, like the dystopian side, and it gets across so much with just a simple joke.
Why don't you grow up and start acting like an adult for once in your life?
Alexa, stop!
Fuck you!
Again, it's Amazon Alexa. It's something that's instantly recognizable. And you could say, oh yeah, that's obvious, that's just throwing something that we know at us in our faces. But it's how they use it and what they say about it, and the jokes they make, that make it actually good and insightful. Just imagine what this would be like in Adam McKay's hands, or whoever, or Will Ferrell. It would just be shit. It would just be like, fuck off. And then you have Cartman and Kyle, and it wouldn't be a South Park episode without all those Jew jokes.
It's not fucking funny, Cartman. Stop pretending you have a happy Jewish life.
Hey, Sugana, I'm sorry. I couldn't wait in the car anymore. I had to meet your friends.
And obviously it's a great gag that Cartman is a devout Jew with the most stereotypical Jewish family, and it doesn't ever get old because they keep building on it and adding to it. And it's how South Park goes so absurd with things, where Cartman's shagging his wife.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, you like how Abraham almost sacrificed his only son? Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you like how Abraham sacrificed his only son? It's just like, it's so fucking stupid, but simple, but like, because it's so outlandish, you can't help but laugh. It was so fucking funny. Obviously, it's brilliant that Jimmy Vollmer is now a comedian like Jimmy Kimmel or something, and he's this ultra sanitized, safe hack.
You know, today I was on the subway, and I saw an ad for the Center for People Who Identify as Homosexual But Were Born Bi. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? I'll tell you one thing. Those people are brave and deserve every ounce of our respect.
That can't make a joke at anyone's expense. And I really appreciated what it was saying about like where the future of comedy could go.
What do you call a trans woman that walks into an abortion clinic? Her name is Rebecca, and she's a fantastic person.
And I'm glad that's included. It is very, very South Park though. Like, it's got South Park written all over. But I do agree with that sentiment, because South Park are the opposite to that. They are literally, there is no line that humans can draw with comedy. There is no line that a one person can draw for the rest of the world to abide by, because comedy is like something else. Comedy has to kind of transcend everything, and I agree with that. You can't really start enforcing that there are certain things that are off limits. Some of the funniest stuff came from the character Clyde, who's supposed to represent an anti-vaxxer.
We've got jobs and careers, people who need us, but we're being forced to stay here. So could you maybe just get vaccinated real quick? Oh. Nah, I don't wanna. Yeah.
I think it was more supposed to take the piss out of a certain mentality more than a body of people. And it did do that well, and it is funny.
Look, I'm sorry, guys. It's for health reasons. I can't get vaccinated because I'm allergic to shellfish.
Clyde, there's no shellfish in the COVID vaccine.
Like, when you start to ask people why they aren't getting the vaccine, it starts to break apart a little bit. Like, oh, I'm allergic to shellfish, and I've heard that sometimes when the people who administered the vaccines have had shellfish for lunch, it could get into my bloodstream. Just like these stretches of logic and jumps to conclusions that were probably made in the last couple years. You know, see, I'm like tiptoeing around these things. The thing is, South Park criticises everyone for everything, and it's also just really funny. Like when Kyle, instead of holding a gun to the back of his head, he just holds a vaccine at the back of his neck. It's just, he's like, careful, be careful with that. You don't know what you're doing.
I don't think so, Clyde. This is 100 cc's of the COVID vaccine.
Ah! Don't be careful with that.
There's a lot of Blade Runner references in this. There's even the Chinese lady from the Blade Runner adverts. They just randomly keep playing that. And then they have the Tears in Rain speech, and they have a lot of the stylization of Blade Runner.
Enhance 34 to 46.
Enhance image 20%.
Ugh, whatever.
Shift right 10 frames. Enhance.
South Park do pastiche classic films a lot, but never in a pandering, oh, remember this way, but more in a way that demonstrates the passion that, say, Matt and Trey have for said property. These classic films that they admire on a storytelling level. Another thing I like about the show is that for all the social commentary, like the good and the bad, some of the funniest parts of a given episode come from the most simplistic, dumbfounded, absurdist, toilet humour gags that just go so extreme that you have to laugh. They take something simple and push it to the absolute extreme, where it's just off the wall shit. And that's what makes South Park so special. And unlike anything else, they know, okay, if we're going to do a poo jag, it's got to go all the fucking way.
Oh, here it comes! Oh, it's going to be a rat! Hold on, Kaido! I believe in you!
If we're going to do a gross out, it's got to just go to the extreme. Otherwise, you just seem like a fucking pussy. But it can also be the most dumbest thing ever that makes you laugh, like the, oh, someone's at the door!
Someone's at the door! This is the doorbell! Apparently in the future, all doorbells sing, sing, sing!
Yeah, I fucking know! God damn it!
Just like an obvious criticism of like all these stupid sci-fi movies that depict the future and have all this tacky, futuristic shit that doesn't really make sense. Like, oh, someone's at the door. Now, how this show ends with Cartman's fate, it is of course funny, but fuck, it's tragic. Like, that is brutal.
Thank you, yes! You can suck my fucking dick!
He never left South Park just because of what he had before. Where it ended up, that was just fucking straight up sad. Again, with them taking characters more seriously. I just didn't feel like laughing at that. I was like, fuck's sake.
It's so sad he never did anything with his life.
And this post-COVID story ends with the resolution of cut everyone some slack in regards to the pandemic and how everyone reacted. And it kind of says, listen, we can't control the fact that COVID happened, but we can control how we react and how we react to other people and how we treat each other. And it's very on the nose. It pretty much just says this straight up, directly.
We reacted like shit because I was just scared and confused and didn't know who to believe.
Yeah, we all were. So we all took different paths because that's what humans do. And what we needed more than anything was to just cut each other all some slack.
But I'm used to South Park's preachiness. This is just like a bit of dialogue at the end of a well-told story. It's a sentiment that they earned, but obviously there's no missing what it's saying.
I shouldn't have yelled at you for not wearing a mask. I just didn't understand.
Well, maybe I should have worn a mask more often, but
No, I was being all high and mighty about it.
It's saying, okay, we all had different opinions and speculations as to how we should go on when it was all happening, and we all kind of fell out and just gave each other so much shit. But at the end of the day, we should all cut each other some slack. And I know you can say that's simple and platitudinous, but I guess it just works in the context of the story. And it's a pretty good message. Like, sometimes some of the most simple messages are the best ones. Like, yeah, just cut each other some fucking slack.
Here you go. It's our post-COVID special. It's free. No, really, we've all been through a lot. Come on, take it.
And it's a good message to practice right now. It's quite sweet, and it is earned through the story that was depicted. But the ending in general has emotional weight. It's like, oh, fuck, you know? And the main takeaway for me from this post-COVID double feature is that Matt and Trey clearly care about these characters, despite the absurdity of their existence. And also they take the story seriously, but they always do it in a genuine way that never gets pretentious. Like, it's just serious enough to have some actual emotional weight, but not overly serious that makes it self-important or melodramatic. And that is a fucking hard thing to do as a filmmaker, as a storyteller. Just that balance of tone. Obviously, it's all subjective, all that shit, yeah. Again, it's not excellent, it's just funny and cool, and it's so absurd, it surprises you at times. It's not like a masterpiece of satirical comedy, but it is pretty fucking cool as well. But yeah, Matt and Trey are really respectable human beings. I really hope there's no like horrible scandal that comes out about them being nonces or anything. They're really cool and interesting people, and I just wanted to talk about them and South Park and that post-COVID episode double feature they've just done. And I've talked about it now, so I better end this stupid review. Yeah.